The NBA has this thing called a salary cap. Think of it as a speed limit for how much teams can pay their players. You can go over the speed limit, but you'll get ticketed for it. For this upcoming season, that limit is set at about $154.6 million. The whole point? To stop the richest owners from just buying championships like they're shopping on Amazon Prime. Teams that go over the cap pay something called a luxury tax. Basically, a fine that gets distributed to the teams playing by the rules. It's socialism for billionaires, and it's supposed to keep things fair. Enter Steve Ballmer. Net worth $153 billion. That's billion with a B. This man could literally buy the entire NBA if the rules allowed it. He went from being the CEO of Microsoft to owning the Los Angeles Clippers, and he's someone that Mark Cuban says is too smart to circumvent the salary cap. Yeah, about that. Quick history lesson. In 2015, Ballmer got caught offering DeAndre Jordan a third-party Lexus endorsement deal worth $200,000 a year during free agency. The NBA fined them $250,000 for attempting to circumvent the salary cap. Ballmer's response? He sent an internal memo saying any circumvention was, quote, inadvertent. Inadvertent. Like accidentally offering someone a car deal worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oops. So when the same owner who got caught cheating in 2015 starts writing $50 million checks to tree companies in 2021, well, fool me once, right? In September of 2021, something interesting happened. Actually, a few interesting things happened, all within the same timeline. I'm talking about a timeline so suspicious that makes the Mavs winning the lottery after trading Luka look like a nothing burger. Steve Ballmer invests $50 million in a company called Aspiration through his personal LLC. What's Aspiration? Great question. They claimed to be an environmentally conscious financial company that would plant trees to offset carbon emissions. Spoiler alert, they're about as legitimate as a $3 bill. Also, in September of 2021, the Clippers announced a $300 million partnership with Aspiration, making them the founding partner of their new arena. They're going to make the Intuit Dome, quote, the most sustainable arena in the world. Wholesome, right? Save the planet, play some basketball. What could go wrong? Fast forward 2 months later, in November of 2021, Los Angeles Clippers star Kawhi Leonard registers a company called KL2 Aspire LLC. If you're thinking, wow, that's not suspicious at all, using your initials, jersey number, and the company name, well, congratulations, you're already a better criminal than whoever set this up. In April of 2022, Kawhi signs a 4-year, $28 million endorsement deal with Aspiration, plus another $20 million in stock that never materialized because, it was equity in a Fugazi company. The most ridiculous part of the contract between Aspiration and Kawhi Leonard? It had 3 pages of obligations that Kawhi could refuse to do at any time if they didn't align with his beliefs. What are his beliefs? Nobody knows. He could straight up say, I don't believe in working, and still technically be in compliance. Leonardo DiCaprio, actual environmental activist with over 50 million social media followers? Aspiration paid him less than $2 million. Robert Downey Jr., same deal, and he cut some promos for them. Drake, he actually invested $4 million of his own money into Aspiration. But Kawhi Leonard, who's about as charismatic as a damp towel and hasn't tweeted since 2015, $7 million a year for doing absolutely nothing. If they were paying people to do nothing, they should have called me. I would have done nothing for a lot less than $7 million.
So there I am, minding my own business, and Darnell offers me $3. All I gotta do is walk by Andy and go like this. Darnell's a chump. I would have done it for anything. I've done a lot more for a lot less.
Consider this. Kawhi made more from Aspiration than from New Balance. And he actually does commercials for New Balance to get his $5 million per year from them. His biggest endorser required zero work, and no one publicly knew about this deal. That's not an endorsement deal, that's a payoff. Let's jump ahead to June of 2022. Aspiration is flat out broke, like selling your PS5 to pay rent broke. But suddenly, the Clippers wire them $21 million for carbon credits for their arena that won't even open for 2 more years. 2 weeks later, Kawhi gets his first payment from Aspiration. March 2023. The company is the business equivalent of the Sacramento Kings at this point. Their auditors have quit. They're under federal investigation. Nobody in their right mind would invest in Aspiration. So naturally, Steve Ballmer invests another $10 million. But here's the kicker. He buys in at $23 per share when the company's actual value is around $10 per share. It's like becoming a Cavs fan in 2010 after LeBron left them. Usually, you make an investment with the expectation of eventually making money. If this was a game of Among Us, we would say Steve Ballmer is super sus and the imposter. But another player in this game might be the actual imposter. Dennis Wong, Ballmer's Harvard roommate and the Clippers' minority owner at 1.1%, and according to my connected real estate sources, a guy who, quote, moves in silence. So let's go back to December of 2022. Aspiration can't make Kawhi's payment. As one former Aspiration employee told Pablo Torre,
Uncle Dennis was calling and Uncle Dennis demanded payment. It was priority one. Like, it was something that had to be done, and it was crucial to our relationships with Ballmer and the Clippers.
they're laying off 20% of their staff. Then, like a guardian angel, or maybe more like a mob enforcer, Dennis Wong appears. Through his company DEA 88 Investments, he wires $1.99 million. 9 days later, Kawhi gets paid $1.75 million. On the same day, 100 employees from Aspiration get their pink slips. Pablo Torre got a copy of Wong's investment purchase agreement. It literally states that the company is under federal investigation and that their external auditors, KPMG, resigned, citing fraud. That isn't investing. That is knowingly funding a corpse of a company. And here's the kicker. His own daughter worked in the Aspiration strategy department, so he knew they had one foot in the grave. There's no rational business explanation for that, unless you're making sure your star player gets paid. Look, there's circumstantial evidence, and then there's whatever this is. To add on to this, the contract between Aspiration and KL2 Aspire LLC that Pablo Torre obtained literally states that the deal terminates if Kawhi Leonard stops being a Clipper. Not if he retires, not if he gets injured, only if he leaves the Clippers. This makes zero business sense unless the whole point was paying Kawhi for his services to the LA Clippers, also known as circumventing the salary cap. Multiple Aspiration employees independently told Torre the same thing. This was salary cap circumvention. One finance department employee on record said
That if I had any questions about it, essentially don't, because it was to circumvent the salary cap, LOL.
the timing is almost comedic and how obvious this is. Every time Kawhi needed to be paid, money mysteriously appeared from Ballmer's camp. It's like watching someone cheat at Monopoly when they're both the player and the banker. This is probably my favorite piece of evidence. Pablo found out there's a text from Uncle Dennis to Aspiration CEO Joe Sandberg about the contract negotiations. In it, Dennis wrote, "Mike has had the contract for about 14 days now. Haven't heard back." And who is Mike? Well, he was only Aspiration's general counsel at the time. The man dragging his feet on signing off on giving Kawhi Leonard $28 million to do nothing was Aspiration's own lawyer. Even he knew that deal was radioactive. If all that stuff is a smoking gun, the March 2023 Ballmer investment might as well be a smoking bazooka. He invested at $23 per share when the company's actual value at that point in time was around $10 per share. In fact, their merger partner had just liquidated at $10.10 per share. So Steve Ballmer definitely knew what the market price was for Aspiration. And he decided to pay $100,000 for a 2003 Honda Civic. I think I know why he did that. He was trying to give Aspiration cash while staying under the NBA's 5% ownership rule. You see, NBA owners can't own more than 5% of any company that sponsors a team or their players. So Ballmer gives them money but takes fewer shares to avoid that threshold. Imagine paying double price for half the product just so nobody asks questions. That's exactly what Steve Ballmer did here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a plan! Now, if this global reinvention is to work, there might be a few competitors that are unfortunately eliminated!